Are you ready to face what's inside? It's a big question, and not one many people are comfortable with. Most of us would rather look out at the world, point to the people, the circumstances, or the challenges around us, and say, that's why I'm struggling. But what if the answer isn't out there? What if the real battle, the real struggle, is happening inside you, right here, right now? Imagine if you could walk right up to the person you want to be and ask them one question. Would you ask, how did you make it? Or would you wonder, what am I doing wrong? We don't often think of it this way, but every obstacle, every inner conflict we have is just one step in our journey toward that future self. The path to becoming who you want to be isn't smooth, and it doesn't just happen. It's a road full of twists and turns, with some of the hardest battles being the ones you fight with yourself. This journey demands courage, commitment, and the will to keep moving forward, even when it feels like you're the only one in your way. Every dream, every goal, every change starts within. If you're looking to make a change in your life, then you have to start from the inside out. And I'm talking about facing those deep-seated struggles, the ones you may not even want to admit to yourself, the ones that, if left unchecked, can hold you back from everything you were meant to do. It's not about perfection, it's about making progress, one small step at a time. Now let's imagine something. Picture yourself a few years from now. Picture a life where you never faced these inner struggles, where you kept letting them control your decisions, your habits, your beliefs. Where do you think that path would lead? Are you still sitting in the same spot, wondering why things haven't changed? Maybe you're still stuck in the same routine, working the same job you've wanted to leave for years, or feeling that same dissatisfaction with yourself every time you look in the mirror. This is the risk you're taking if you don't deal with what's inside. You could be missing out on so much, on opportunities, on relationships, on growth. Imagine the things you could accomplish if you learned to face those struggles head on, to push past the doubt and find out what you're really capable of. Because here's the truth. Every time you ignore these inner struggles, every time you brush them aside, you give them power over your life. You give them the steering wheel and you let them drive. When you start looking at your struggles as part of your growth, they stop being obstacles and start becoming stepping stones. They're the keys that unlock a stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself. This is what's at stake. A life where you either rise to the challenges within, or a life where you remain stuck, always wondering what could have been. So today, let's dig deep and take an honest look at what might be holding you back. Let's look at why you might be struggling within yourself and what you can do about it. Fear of failure. Let's talk about it because it's one of the biggest reasons people struggle within themselves. Failure has this power over us. It makes us question who we are, makes us afraid to even try. We think of failure as a dead end, as a reflection of our worth, as a sign that we're not enough. But let me ask you this. How many people, successful people, have you heard say that failure was their biggest teacher? Fear of failure stops you before you even get started. It whispers, don't even try. What if you mess up? What if you're not good enough? And so you don't act. You stay in your comfort zone where everything feels safe and familiar, but nothing ever changes. But the truth is, the comfort zone is a trap. It's the place where dreams go to die, where potential gets buried, and where the life you could have had slips right through your fingers. Think about the people we admire, the inventors, the artists, the leaders. They didn't become who they are because they never failed. They became who they are because they were willing to fail. They were willing to try, to stumble, to fall, and then to get up again and keep going. Failure wasn't the end for them. It was just part of the process. The same can be true for you. But let's be real. Facing the fear of failure isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It challenges you. But here's the thing. Every time you face that fear and take a step forward anyway, you're building strength. You're teaching yourself that you are capable, that you can handle whatever comes your way. And that fear, it starts to lose its power. It starts to become something you can overcome rather than something that holds you back. What if, instead of seeing failure as something to avoid, you started to see it as part of the journey? Imagine if every time you failed, you thought, all right, what can I learn from this? That's how you grow. That's how you build resilience. And that's how you start to believe in yourself, no matter what obstacles you face. Today, make a promise to yourself to face that fear. Start small. Take one step towards something that scares you, something you've been putting off because you're afraid of failing. And if it doesn't go perfectly, that's okay. You've made progress just by trying, by stepping outside your comfort zone. And each time you do it, you'll get stronger, more confident, more capable. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to keep going, no matter what. Comparing yourself to others is like trying to run someone else's race. You end up exhausted, frustrated, and never feeling good enough. You look around, see people who seem to have it all figured out, and wonder, why am I not there yet? But here's the thing, comparison doesn't get you anywhere. It only steals your joy, your progress, and your peace. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Each step you take is your own journey. But if you're constantly looking at someone else's path, judging your pace against theirs, you lose sight of where you're going. You trip, you stumble, and sometimes you fall. That's what happens when you compare yourself to others. You lose your focus, and you start doubting every step you take. We live in a world that's obsessed with comparison. Social media, success stories, people's highlight reels, all of it makes us feel like we're supposed to be somewhere other than where we are. But the truth is, everyone has their own journey, their own struggles, and their own timing. Just because someone is ahead of you doesn't mean you're behind. You're on a different path, and that's okay. Think about this. Every flower blooms in its own time. You wouldn't rush a flower to bloom. You know it'll come into its beauty when it's ready. The same goes for you. Your life is unfolding in its own way, and that's something to be proud of. Instead of looking around and wishing you had what others have, start focusing on what you're building, what you're growing, and the steps you're taking. The next time you find yourself comparing, remind yourself that you're not meant to be anyone else. Your journey is unique. Your growth is your own, and no one else can take that from you. Focus on your path. Celebrate your small victories, even if no one else sees them. This is your race, and the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Holding on to the past is like trying to move forward while dragging a heavy weight behind you. We all have things we wish we could change, mistakes we regret, memories that haunt us. But when we hold on too tightly, we end up stuck, unable to move forward, unable to grow. Maybe there's something in your past that's holding you back, an experience, a decision, a failure. Maybe it's something you keep replaying in your mind over and over, hoping that somehow it'll change, that somehow you can go back and fix it. But the past is done. It's over. And every time you look back, you miss the opportunities that are right in front of you. Think of it like this. When you're driving, you glance at the rearview mirror every now and then, but you don't stare at it the whole time. If you did, you'd crash. The same goes for life. It's okay to remember the past, to learn from it, but don't let it define you. Don't let it keep you from becoming who you're meant to be. Forgiveness is key here. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and accepting that what's done is done. It's not easy. It takes courage and strength. But when you forgive, you're not letting anyone off the hook. You're setting yourself free. Free to grow, to heal, to move on. Free to focus on the present and build a future that's not chained to what's already happened. Take a moment today to let go of something that's been weighing on you. Release the grip it has on your mind, your heart, your spirit. Know that you are not your past. You are what you choose to be right now. And in this moment, you can choose to let go and make room for something better. Fear of judgment, this one is powerful. It's the reason so many of us hold back, hide our true selves, and stay in our comfort zones. We worry about what people will think if we go after our dreams, if we step out of line, if we do something different. We're afraid of being laughed at, criticized, or misunderstood. But let's think about this. Whose life are you living? If you're constantly making choices based on what other people might think, you're giving them control over your life. You're living according to their standards, their expectations, their opinions. But here's the thing, those people, the ones who judge, who criticize, they're not living your life. They're not the ones who have to deal with your dreams unfulfilled or your goals unpursued. Imagine if every great thinker, artist, or leader worried about judgment. What if they stayed silent, hid their talents, or gave up because they were afraid of what others might think? The world would be a very different place. Judgment is inevitable. People will always have opinions, but you can't let those opinions dictate who you are or what you do. Think about it. Most people who judge others are struggling with their own insecurities, their own fears. They project those fears onto others, and in doing so, they try to keep you at their level. But you're not here to live at someone else's level. You're here to rise, to grow, to become the best version of yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks. Next time you feel that fear of judgment, take a deep breath and remember that you are not defined by what others think of you. Your worth, your value, your dreams, they don't depend on anyone else's approval. Give yourself permission to live authentically, to pursue what matters to you, and to shine in your own way. It's your life, and you deserve to live it boldly. Let's talk about belief in yourself. For many people, lack of self-belief is the silent force holding them back. You may not even realize it, but when you don't believe in yourself, it shows up in your actions, your decisions, and the opportunities you let slip by. You doubt yourself, hesitate, and end up saying, "I can't," before you even try. But here's the truth. Belief in yourself is the foundation for everything you want to achieve. Think of it like building a house. If the foundation is shaky, it doesn't matter how beautiful the walls are, how expensive the furniture is, or how perfect the location might be. Without a solid foundation, the house won't stand. The same goes for your life. If you don't believe in yourself, everything else will struggle to hold together. Self-belief isn't arrogance. It's understanding your own worth, knowing you have value, and recognizing that you're capable of growth. Many people struggle with self-belief because they're waiting for permission from someone else. They're waiting for approval, for someone to tell them they're good enough. But let me tell you something. No one else can give you what you're looking for. You have to give yourself permission to believe in your own abilities, your own potential. Think about a moment in your life when you surprised yourself, when you accomplished something you didn't think you could. That moment wasn't a fluke. It happened because deep down, you believed you could. That same belief is still inside you. It just needs to be awakened, nurtured, and strengthened. Every day, remind yourself that you are capable. Start speaking words of encouragement to yourself. Start trusting your instincts. And most importantly, start taking action toward what you want, even if it's scary. Belief in yourself grows with every step you take. Perfectionism is a struggle many people don't even recognize as a problem. At first glance, it seems harmless. What's wrong with wanting to be your best? But perfectionism is more than just aiming high. It's the fear of being anything less than perfect. And that fear can be paralyzing. It keeps you from starting, it keeps you from finishing, and it keeps you from moving forward. Perfectionism tells you, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. But here's the reality: perfection doesn't exist. No matter how much you polish, plan, or prepare, there will always be something that could be improved. The pursuit of perfection is like chasing a shadow. You can see it, but you can never quite catch it. And while you're chasing it, life is passing you by. Think about a project, a goal, or an idea you've put off because you're waiting for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. What if you stopped waiting and just started? What if you allowed yourself to make mistakes, to learn, to improve along the way? That's where real growth happens. The people who succeed aren't the ones who wait for perfection. They're the ones who take imperfect steps toward their goals. Next time you feel the need to be perfect, remind yourself that progress matters more than perfection. Take that first step, even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain. Let yourself be a beginner. Let yourself learn as you go. The journey is where the magic happens, not in some imaginary state of perfection. Change is one of the most natural parts of life, yet it's one of the things we fear the most. We cling to what we know, even when it's not what we want, because it feels safe. But the truth is, real growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. Growth happens when we're willing to step into the unknown, to take risks, to embrace change. Imagine a caterpillar refusing to change because it's afraid of what comes next. It would never become a butterfly. The same applies to us. When we resist change, we resist our own potential. We miss out on opportunities, relationships, and experiences that could shape us into the person we're meant to be. Change isn't easy, but it's necessary. Fear of change often comes from a fear of losing control, of not knowing what lies ahead. But here's the thing: growth and transformation come with a level of uncertainty. That's part of what makes them so powerful. If you only stay in places that feel familiar, you'll keep getting the same results. It's only when you take a leap that new doors begin to open. Next time you feel that fear of change creeping in, remind yourself that change is a part of life, and it's leading you somewhere better. Take one small step outside your comfort zone, just one, and then take another. Before you know it, you'll look back and see how far you've come, how much you've grown. Embrace change. It's the pathway to becoming who you're meant to be. So let's take a moment to look back at the struggles we've explored. Fear of failure, comparison, holding on to the past, fear of judgment, lack of self-belief, perfectionism, and fear of change. These struggles aren't unique to you. They're part of the human experience. We all face them in one way or another. But they don't have to define you. They don't have to control your life or your choices. Each struggle you face is an invitation to grow, an invitation to learn more about yourself, to develop resilience, to find your inner strength. Life isn't about avoiding struggles. It's about using them to become stronger, wiser, and more confident. Every challenge, every fear, every moment of doubt is shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for what's next. Remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. All you need is the courage to take one step forward, to believe in yourself, even when it's hard, to keep going, even when it's uncomfortable, and to trust that every struggle you face is leading you closer to the person you're meant to be. So, stand tall. Face your struggles with courage. Don't shy away from the work it takes to grow. Embrace every challenge as a chance to rise, to learn, and to become more. This is your journey, your story, and it's up to you to make it a story worth telling.